All right. So we're going to talk about index crediting method. What it means is that how does insurance company calculate interest rate for index annuities and index life insurance? So that's what I meant by index crediting. Okay, if you are buying MIGA, if you're purchasing MIGA, when do you know your interest rate?
In the beginning.
In the beginning. And you know for sure what that is. That interest rate, you know the interest rate, and you know for the whole duration of your contract. If you're getting MIGA 5, you know the interest rate, and that same interest rate is applied for next 5 years, right? If you do fixed annuity, we just talked about this. When do you know what your interest rate is? If it's a fixed annuity, when do you know your interest rate?
As I said, in the beginning.
In the beginning of the year, right? You know what the interest rate is for 1 year. Do you know what interest rate it will be next year?
Yep.
No.
No, it's a
It
MIGA.
changes, it changes. So a year later, whatever
Oh, yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
rate will be, so we don't know what interest rate is, right? So, but the thing is, at least you get to know every year at the beginning of the year, they know the interest rate. So if you put $100 in and your interest rate is 2%, how much interest you going to get over the next 12 months?
$2.
$2. So your money will be $102, right? And the next year, the declare interest rate, that's why they call it declare interest rate. They'll let you know ahead of time. They said next year, their interest rate is a 2.5%. Then you get 2.5% on $102,
Yeah.
right? So interest rate, you know at the beginning of the term. What about CD? When do you know your interest rate?
In the beginning.
In the beginning. What about savings account? When do you know your interest rate?
In the beginning.
In the beginning. Now I realize this is why people are having so much hard time. Because index annuity, when do you know what gain you're gonna have? It's not interest rate. I guess you can call it interest rate. I'm using the term interest rate in a very loose way. So when do you know what interest rate you're gonna get from fixed index annuity?
A year later.
1 year later. You see I think there's a big jump. All along, if you dealt with a fixed account, whether it is a life insurance or a bank, you know the interest rate on day one. But index annuity, you get to know it at the end of
First year.
1 year. When the segment ends, I mean, there are different segments. I mean, there's 2 year segment, 5 year segment, and 7 year segments and things like that. Let's not, I'm trying not to confuse you. So let's stick with the 1 year segment of it. So you get to know interest rate 1 year later. Okay. What interest rate you're gonna get, you don't know for a whole year. 12 months, you don't know. But would you know how they calculate that interest rate? That's
Yes.
what we're gonna talk about. If it's a 1 year point to point, you know, okay, after 1 year, they're gonna do this and they're gonna give me the interest rate. So interest calculation on index account is almost year after your money is gone in. Okay, let's take a let's take a side track. Um, what about mutual fund or stocks? When do you know your interest rate?
The end
When do
of the
you know
day.
what your gain is?
The end of the day.
End of the day or end of the minute.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, if you're doing day trading, you get to know what
Uh,
stock is doing every minute. If it is a mutual fund, you get to know your mutual fund's performance at the end of the day. If it is a stock or ETF, you get to know your gain instantaneously,
yeah.
right? So that is why index is a little more difficult because people are so used to knowing what they're getting or what they're losing right away. But if you're doing index annuity and index life, you don't know what interest rate you're getting. Until when?
Yes, sir.
Until 1 year pass, when the segment ends. Okay? So how do they calculate your index account? That's what we're talking about. Number one thing, very first thing we're going to talk about is what is an index? Is it a one stock or two stock? Is it one bond, two bond? Is it?
It's a combination of all.
It's a combination. If it is a S&P 500 index, how many stocks companies are in there?
500,
500. If it is a NASDAQ 100, how many stock companies are in there?
100,
100. If it is a Dow Jones, how many stock companies are in there?
30.
30. So this is not just one stock. It's not like stock, but it is a composition of your portfolio. I mean, there are companies, there are index that is not only stock, they make their composition with a part of stock and part of bond and part of money market also. So index composed of all those, okay? So most popular one is S&P 500. I mean, I just told you S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, and Dow Jones. I mean, that's most popular, but there are more stocks. So what if index goes up? How do you determine it when index goes up? Because every day they declare the value of index. S&P 500, if you go to, all right, so if you Google, excuse me,
Pressure.
so S&P 500 index, today's index is 5,254.35.
I've never seen this before.
Yeah, we went up
This high.
5.86%
Yeah.
since yesterday.
Wow.
So if you look at it, let's say look at 5 days. On this day it's a 5,242. This day is a 5,230. You get to see all this. So if you look at 1 year, it went from 4,027 till what?
5,000.
5,200. It went up.
Yeah.
So that index went up. Okay. Now, if it's an index is like this, 5 year, if your index started this point and index ended this point, did it go up or go down?
Go down.
It went down. So that's what they meant when index increases and when index decrease. If index increase, what's going to happen to your account?
Increases.
Your account value increase. They're going to calculate interest for your account. If index decrease, what happens to your account?
If it's a 0% guarantee, then 0.
Yeah, your account value doesn't change. Okay. So there are several methods. Okay. S&P 500 index 1 year point to point performance with a cap. So it says a 1 year point to point. So when they say point to point, let's go back here, 1 year. So it went from 4,000 to 5,000. Does it matter what happened in between?
No.
I mean, there are times it went just 4,100. Does it matter?
No.
No, it doesn't. Point to point means they only look at this point till this point. So point to point, they only look at two numbers. the beginning index and ending index value, right? So this one is with cap, means is there maximum you're gonna get with this index account?
Yep.
If it says, okay, let's say cap is 5%. If they says a 5% cap. No, it says here it says a 5% cap, okay? If it is a 5% cap, can you get more than 5%?
No.
You're set at 5. Maximum you're gonna get is the 5. So cap means maximum. If index went up 20%, what are you getting?
5.
Maximum of 5. If index went up 2%, what are you getting?
2.
2. Right? You get whatever the index is doing up to that cap. Once it reaches the cap, or anything above the cap, it is cap value because that's the maximum you're gonna get. So that's cap. Now, that's with 100% participation. There's another term that you have to understand, participation. This one, they show you 100% participation with a 5% cap, and we went up 6%. So 6%, but you only get 5% because of the cap. That's what it's saying. If you have a 50% participation and 5% gap, and your index went up 5%, you get 50% of 5%, and 6%, which is a 3%. So your interest rate is what?
3%.
3%. If its index went up 12%, what are you getting? 12 times 50%, which is 6%. Now, next test they're going to do is it higher than cap, which is a 5? So client will get what?
5.
5%. That's how they do the point to point with the participation. See, this one, I don't like this one because they show same cap for both 100% participation and 50% participation. I mean, if that's the case, would you want to go with a 50% participation?
Yeah.
No way. I'll just will go with 100%. I mean, if cap is the same, why would you go with a 50%? You're only getting half of it. So normally, if it is a 55% here, the cap here could be 7%, 9%, something like that, which I'm going to show you later. And if the index change is negative, it went down instead of going up, what are you getting?
0.
0. So we just talked about cap and participation and point to point. What if you want uncapped? There's such thing as uncapped strategy. Uncapped means, is there a maximum you're gonna get?
No.
No. Is there a minimum you're gonna get?
0.
0. Minimum is 0, there's no maximum. Then if it, more than likely, the participation will be less than 100%. In this example, it's a 30%. 30%
low.
participation. So if index went up 10%, client gets how much?
3.
3%. What if index went up 50%? What is the client getting?
15.
50 times 30%, which is 15.
Oh,
Get
15, yeah.
15%. Anything negative, what are you getting?
0.
0. So this is uncapped with the participation control. So far, so good? Now, what about monthly sum? What in the world is a monthly sum? On monthly sum, how many months are in a year? Yoshi, how many months are in a year?
12 months.
12 months. So if you're doing monthly sum, when do you get your interest rate? Once a year? 12 months? Every month? What do you think?
Monthly.
Interest rate, the gain is calculated when?
The monthly basis.
Monthly basis? Is that true, Yoshi? I mean, I explained this to you.
Yeah, I know it. I remember that
Now,
clearly.
how many times in a month do you get an interest rate credited to your account?
12 months they calculated, but they have to do the plus minus, plus minus.
So you only get once.
Yeah, once.
Just like point to point, you get only once. At the end of the year, at the end of 12 months, you get interest calculated, not every month. But monthly sum, you check your index every month for 12 months. So index can, month one, it went up 4. Month two, it went up 2. Month three, it went down 3. 1, minus 1, 0, 3, minus 2, 4, 1.5, minus 1, 2. So this is a realistic index changes. Let's say monthly change cap is 1.8%. So first month, it went up 5 or 4%, but there's a cap. So you write down, you pencil down 1.8. Next month, it went up 2%, you pencil down 1.8. On month 3, it went down -3. So this is something that people get confused. So they will think, okay, since they did a cap of a 1.8, maybe they'll put down minus 1.8. No, they're not gonna do that. They'll do -3. So there's an upper cap, but there's no minimum cap. Okay, so they do that for next 12 months. They pencil down the changes for next 12 months. And at the end of the 12 months, which the segment ended, time to calculate for interest. Monthly sum means they add all these 12 numbers. It came out to be 4.5. If it is a 4.5, which is positive, client guess what?
4.5.
4.5. So what's the highest possible interest rate on this?
1.8
1.8 times 12.
monthly. Yeah.
Yeah, so if it is going up every month, I mean, it's not gonna happen like that, but if, assuming it goes up every month, 1.8, the 12 times is 18 plus 3.6, so it's gonna be 21.6% is the highest you're gonna get out of this. What's the lowest you're gonna get?
0.
0 once again. Here's another example. 4, 2, minus 6, 1, minus 2, 0, 3, minus 4, so on and so forth. They've done the same calculation, and when at the end of 12 months, they add them all up, monthly sum. They add them all up. Now it became -2.5. What are you getting? You're not
0.
gonna get negative, you get 0.
0.
That's monthly sum. S&P 500 specified rates. What does specified rate means? Okay, it says a 3.4% specified rate. Okay, so if its specified rate is 3.4, here's how the index is calculated. So 12 months later, they check the index. In this example is the S&P 500. And after 12 months, S&P 500 went from 4,000 to 4,500. What is a client gonna get?
3.4.
3.4. So if the index goes up or stay the same, you get 3.4. So maximum you're gonna get is a 3.4, minimum you're gonna get is 0. Is there any number in between 0 and 3.4?
No.
No, it's always either 0 or 3.4. So index has a no change after 1 year, or index went up 0.000001, then you get 3.4%. If index goes down, what are you getting?
0.
0. Okay, so it's an either or. That's specified rate for you. S&P Mark 5% excess return index. Okay, this is what I call dynamic allocation, or they call it volatility control index. Means, see, up until here, we only talk about S&P 500. the number of stock they're gonna own, number of the stock company they're gonna own is no matter when you go in, it's always gonna be 500 company. But S&P Mark 5% is a volatility control, and they're trying to maintain volatility up and down within 5% daily. They don't want to see anything go above 5%. They don't want to see anything go below 5% than previous day. So that's the goal. Are they gonna keep that goal every time? Probably not, but that's what they're intending to do. So what happened is that as you do that, your index it doesn't stay at same stock all the time. It moves back and forth, back and forth. So it doesn't stays the same. So index in this calculation is a little different. Okay, I mean the composition of this index is different than static index like S&P or Nasdaq 100. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Okay. Edward asked me a very interesting question. I don't think you probably haven't heard this question. For 4.5 and 0% is monthly change geometric average? No, it is not geometric average. It is just simple addition. The geometric average means equivalent interest rate. So it is not geometric. Okay, so Mark 5% is a dynamic, and a lot of times it has this dynamic normally has no cap, uncapped, and they have a participation higher than 100%, not all the time, but if participation is 120%, and if this index had a 5% growth from 1 point to 1 year later, then you get 5% times 120%, which is a 6%. If it's a negative number, you get zero. Somebody asked me, how can they have more than 100% participation? I don't know, but the thing is that they can utilize money. Unlike S&P 500, S&P 500, your money is kind of stuck. But this one, since they're doing volatility control, the money goes in and out. And what I meant is that it is not stuck into 500 stock company. They can move to bond, they can move to cash and things like that. Okay. Nasdaq 100 is the same thing as S&P, just different index, and their cap is 6%. In this, I mean, in this example, cap is a 5%, 100% participation, same thing. Now you know point to point, annual point to point is you know how to calculate those. Okay, and there's a fixed option, declare rate. Declare rate, you know, sometimes most company they call it fixed rate, but declare rate seem to be more logical usage of words because they declare interest rate every year. So whatever the interest rate that you're getting at the anniversary, that's what you're getting. So it changes every year, and there's normally minimum of 2% or 1%. Okay, historical performance is in here. But I don't like this historical performance. We can get the historical performance from where? From illustration. So let's do this. Okay, let's look at the American Nationals rates. After looking at this, now you should be able to read and understand the rate. Okay, this is why, I mean, usually you always ask me whether 10 years better or 7 years better. I said 10 years is almost all the time better. That's because number one, this 10-year is actually how many years in California?
9.
9 years, 9 years. It's a mere 2-year more. Mere 2-year more, you get a lot better because 7-year product, you get 0%. 1 year, a 10-year product, which is a 9-year actually in California, you get 1% bonus. Whatever the premium that you're putting in, you get 1% bonus, premium bonus first year. Declare rates of 4.5, 7 years is 4.25. This is a fixed rate. So if someone purchase this annuity and put money in declare rate, what is the interest rate he's gonna get?
4.5.
4.5 for next 12 months. 12 months later, you're gonna get another declared interest rate at that time. And whatever the interest rate they're declaring, that's the interest rate you're gonna get. Now, specified rate is a 6.5. So if you think index is going up, and if you wanna bet against this fixed interest, you can do this. So if you do it specified of 6.5, if index went up, S&P 500 went up 0.00001 or stays the same, what is the client gonna get?
6.5.
6.5, 6.5. The monthly cap is whopping 3.65. A lot better than 1.8 that we looked at, right? And S&P 500 1 year point to point, 100% participation cap is what? 10%.
Not bad.
If you do the 50% participation cap is
15.
15. So which is better? I don't know. If index is doing 30% next year, what is interest rate you're gonna get on this one?
30.
10.
No, I'm sorry, 10.
What are you
10%.
getting on this one? 15. 50% of 30 is 15. Right? But if index is doing 18, what are you getting? On this one, since it is a cap at 10,
10.
you get 10. Half of 18 is what? 9. So you get 9. Okay. 1 year point to point uncap is a 50%. What's the difference between that and this? How about what's the difference between this and this? Which one is better?
You don't know. Oh, it's capped, right?
Yeah, it's capped. So
Oh
that's
no,
why
it
I
says
don't put any money in here.
Hmm.
It's stupid. You get 50% participation with 15% cap, or you can have 50% participation with no cap.
Yeah,
Which one you gonna have?
50.
I don't know why they made such a stupid thing. Make it 49, make it 61.
Yeah.
NASDAQ 100, the cap is at 10%. S&P 500, low volatility, the participation is 210%. Okay. So you now know how this works. Now, my time is up, but I'll just do the illustration so that you know. Okay. What does interest rate look like last 10 years? Okay. Come on. We don't have time.
Last 10.
We don't know, but I'm just going to
Oh.
show you how you
Oh,
can find out.
Yeah.
Okay. So log in. Come on. Create illustration. Create existing client. Joe sample, probably I use sample Joe. Okay, next. California next. New illustration. Equity index annuities. Strategy plus 10. Next. Create illustration. And I'm not changing anything. You're putting $10,000 in and I'll do the single premium. This is how I do mine, okay? I normally put 20% in monthly sum, 20% in 100% point to point. Okay, 20% on 50% without cap. NASDAQ, 20%. I'm saying 20%. S&P Mark 5, 20%. This is how I normally do now. Okay, before I put 100% in Mark 5.
Yeah. So did
Okay.
I.
But if it is my own, I might just put 100% on Mark 5. But I know that clients, they are always come up with complaints and things like that. So I said, okay, I'll just put it in all different basket. That's why I'm doing it. But I see if you put 100% in S&P Mark 5, I wouldn't be surprised. I would do that too. right? So let's go to illustrations. Action, preview illustration. Okay, here's the worst you can do, 10,100 because of the credit,
Quotes.
right? So the worst you can do is a 10,100 over 10 years. That's, you get 0% every single year for next 10 years. If S&P 500 isn't going up for next 10 years, we have a big problem here in this country, okay? But even if that happens, your 10,100 is guaranteed, okay? This is last 10 years. Your $10,000 is now $21,285. Not bad. Rule of 72, that's about 7%,
Yeah.
8%, right? 9.9, 1.69, 7.19, 14.08, 0. When it's 0 means market is not doing
Down.
well, right? 16, 9, 9, 7, 0, 10. So that's next 10 years, okay? So if you look at this is a 1-year total sum, monthly sum. The best you did, I mean, last 10 years are 8.08. Highest is 12. That's not bad. Lowest 10-year is 4.08.
That's not bad either.
Yeah. So that's why I'm putting a little bit here. This is a 1-year point with 100% participation with cap of 10%, 6.85, 9.03, 5.34. Not so pretty, not so fancy, but it's not that bad. It doesn't move. It doesn't do you 2-digit.
Mhm.
I mean, since it's a 10%, you get 2-digit technically, but it's not that bad. This is uncapped. So you got all this, 6.7, 8.13, 4.26. It smells like a monthly sum to me in terms of performance, but they're doing good. I mean, look at this one, 34%. So this year they did the market change about 70%. Okay, but it is very rare that happens. But you can capture a little bit of that, 8.13, the highest. This is a NASDAQ 100, just like S&P, 7.36, 10%. Whoa, this is went up every single year. 5.43 for lowest. Not bad. Mark 5, 9.49 last 10 years. 14.69 highest. The lowest is 5.99. If you knew this 10 years ago, where would you put your money?
Right here.
100% of money right here. But do you know?
No.
We don't know. That's why we diversify. When you diversify, does it guarantee that you're gonna have a higher rate of return?
No.
No, it doesn't. It just minimize the volatility. Okay, so here's a 9-year surrender terms. Even though it's a +10 in California, it technically is a +9 because you get out of the surrender after 9 years. Okay, so I went over 2 minutes. I done really well. Okay, any question? Any question?
No.